Hello, good evening. Welcome to a special programme tonight, Friday the 9th of April, the day His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh passed away at the age of 99. The Duke was of course a frequent visitor to this region, with engagements going back decades. Always by the Queen's side, he was there to support her on visits, including those marking her diamond and her golden jubilees. Well, fond tributes have been paid to him today by the many people who met with him over the years. Joe Healy takes a look back now at his connections to the East Midlands.
His connection with the East Midlands goes back decades. This is 1949, when he took his place next to the future Queen on her visit to Nottingham. And on the journey through their lives, Prince Philip has been a constant source of support on visits. This one for the Diamond Jubilee, when the royal party came to Leicester, the Prince's comments raising a smile.
Towards the end of the celebrations, he turned to me and he said, "You're the elected mayor, aren't you?" A little puzzled said, "Yes, sir." He said, "A dreadful American import." It was very good-natured. He wasn't trying to be rude. It was just frank and exactly what he thought about it.
10 years earlier, on the Queen's Golden Jubilee tour to Leicester, they paid a visit to the National Space Centre.
When the Queen was talking quite solemnly to the mayors of Leicester and the surrounding areas, he was chatting to the security guards, and he was chatting about, crazy things, just very informal. They loved him. Their feet didn't touch the ground for a week afterwards.
But Prince Philip's connection with the region goes back much further. This is him opening the home sluices on the River Trent back in 1953. And of course his name will live on in the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme.
And I can only hope that all of you here are getting something from the extra activities. In all that time out of school when you've got nothing to do, that's really what it was intended to fill.
His aim was to try and provide opportunities for young people that would help them to build their self-confidence, find a sense of purpose in the world and be able to support themselves into the future. And I think having the Duke support that has been a real driver in making sure that we continue to do that today.
And the royal team attracted thousands to Derbyshire in 2014, arriving not by royal train, but on the normal 10:26 Derby to Matlock service. A year later, he was still keeping up the pace, now aged 94 and in sweltering heat, the passing out parade at Welbeck Military College in Leicestershire, just one of a number of engagements that day. In 2016, another project close to his heart. He unveiled a monument commissioned by a former Second World War pilot from Leicestershire who'd suffered severe burns. Prince Philip was the president of a club set up to support young men with similar life-changing disfigurements. The following year, and another trip to the East Midlands for the Queen's annual Maundy service. It was the turn of Leicester Cathedral.
Well, I think the Duke was a remarkable compliment to the Queen. The Duke was able to be, if you need to be, politically incorrect and to say things that perhaps she would never dare say. And that's added a touch of humanity to the royal family.
He may have been blunt-speaking and fiercely independent, but he was a constant companion to the Queen. The death of the Duke of Edinburgh marks the end of a hugely successful partnership, one witnessed across decades by thousands across the East Midlands.
Well, in the minutes following the announcement from Buckingham Palace this morning, our reporters were out in Nottingham and Leicester. In some cases, they broke the news to people on our city streets. Here are just some of your reactions to today's sad news.
Oh my God. Oh no, Jesus, I haven't. When? What? This morning?
It's just been announced, just a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God, the Queen. God.
Oh my God, I'm shocked. I'm so shocked. She was such an icon over the years, such an icon. Yeah, wow, it's blown me away, mate. Sorry to hear that. Rest in peace to the Prince. Wow, it's took me by surprise. I'm so sorry.
Quite shocked by it, actually. Yeah, I think he'll be greatly missed.
I'm just sad. It's upsetting. I mean, what's the Queen going to do now? She's going to be well devastated, isn't she?
He's been a fabulous servant to the country, and he's backed the Queen up 100%. I mean, hasn't he? He's been behind her and guided her.
It's a sad occasion. It's really sour. I bet everyone's crying underneath, you know.
You see the Queen as just being the Queen, but then it's someone's life, it's someone's husband and life partner.
That's awful news at this sad time as well, all the trouble that's been going on everywhere, all over the world and everything. That's another added thing for everybody now to be sad about. That's really quite touched me. I thought he would have survived all this.
The reaction of shoppers in Leicester and Nottingham today. And as you can imagine, communities right across the East Midlands have been paying tribute to Prince Philip. At an inner city mosque in Nottingham, community leaders spoke of his dedication to public service and his enormous contribution to the development of our young people with the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. This report now from Rob Sissons.
Just ahead of the main Friday prayers at this mosque in Sneinton came today's main news. The visiting Imam from Leicester paid a warm tribute to Prince Philip.
We're here for a short time, but we should always be thinking about what we leave behind when we leave this world. And I think the Duke of Edinburgh has left a beautiful mark in the sands of time for which he will be ever remembered. So in the Muslim community, he will be fondly remembered. We will remember him for all of his positive contribution to society, and in particular for the changes that he brought about in the lives of so many of our youngsters.
It was Prince Philip's love of the outdoors, here opening the River Trent sluice gates at Nottinghamshire's home Pierpont in the 1950s, that he translated into the famous Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme for young people. It took children to the palace for badges and certificates, and in the back streets of Sneinton, the power of the project to work across communities is fondly remembered.
I've done a lot of youth work in the past, and I remember a lot of youngsters doing the bronze, the gold and the silver, not in that order, but obviously Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and they were very happy and coming out of their comfort zones and so forth, and it's developed a lot of youngsters.
I personally did the Duke of Edinburgh scheme myself. I did the
what
bronze.
Did you get?
Bronze, I did the bronze, right, from school after school we used to do. And then try to encourage a lot of the Asians to do the same thing, you know, silver and gold. So it was very popular, and like I said, sadly missed. My condolences go to the Queen and Prince Charles, and also to the whole royal family. It's an end of a big era. I mean, the Queen and Prince Philip, everybody knows them. Right? You know, it's a big loss.
The Muslim community in general respect the tradition and legacy of this country. They hold seniority in high regards, and that certainly goes to the royal family as well. We can visibly see the effects that the royal family has on the economy, on the lives of others. They're an inspiration. So it's important that we remember them in the right way.
Rob Sissons, BBC East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
Well, as we saw a little earlier in the programme, the Duke of Edinburgh visited Leicester on many occasions. A few weeks ago, I was able to speak with the Lord Lieutenant of Leicester, Michael Kapoor OBE. As Lord Lieutenant, he is, of course, the Queen's representative in the county. Well, he shared his memories of the Duke and his thoughts on the legacy of the man who married the Queen more than 73 years ago. What are your memories of the Duke of Edinburgh?
Got some wonderful memories of the Duke of Edinburgh. He's been to Leicestershire a few times, the most recent one being the Royal Maundy service in 2017. But a particularly special memory for me was 2012 during the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, where I was hosting the Duke of Edinburgh when he visited De Montfort University.
And what sort of person was he? What was he like to chat to during that?
He's very engaging, he can be quite direct, but he always managed to hold people's attention.
That was an amazing occasion, and we're here at De Montfort University because, of course, this was where a lot of the visit happened, and this was where you actually hosted the Duke.
Yes, we hosted the Duke here on this campus. It was the start of the 2012 Diamond Jubilee Tour, so the whole of the country was watching Leicestershire at the time, and it was a great occasion and a great honour for me personally.
So on that day, the beginning of the Jubilee celebrations, that so much of it took place here at De Montfort University with you, as you say, hosting the Duke of Edinburgh. What happened here?
Well, here on the day we had a marquee set up so that invited guests and particularly students that were going to meet members of the royal family could be here for breakfast and start the day with a full stomach, ready for the excitement that was about to befall them. When the royal visit actually finished and the royal visitors had left, then those same students and visitors came back here for an afternoon tea and were able to engage in their personal stories and memories of what was a very special day for them.
I do retail buy-in. What? Retail buy-in. It's like buying clothes and fabric for a shop.
What do you think his legacy is for the city and indeed the county?
One of the key things that the Duke has done was instigate the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, which he started to develop in 1954. And since its inception, millions of children around the country will have taken part in the Duke of Edinburgh Award schemes at whatever level to help build resilience, confidence, prepare them for adult life. And a lot of those will have been in Leicestershire as well. And I've had the great pleasure of meeting some of those children and youngsters and seeing firsthand the contribution his award scheme has made to their lives. It's very important because 20% of the people that take part in the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme are from disadvantaged backgrounds, and it's a great way for them to build confidence.
What will he be most missed for, do you think?
I think the Duke has been an ever-present at the side of Her Majesty for many, many decades, but I think he'll also be missed for the wit which he often demonstrated, and some people will have very fond memories of some of the statements and comments that he's made.
Mike Kapoor speaking to me a couple of weeks ago, and someone who knew the Duke for more than 20 years is Sir John Peace. Now, he's the Lord Lieutenant for Nottinghamshire. Sir John spoke to us this afternoon. He began by remembering an occasion with Prince Philip back in 2012.
Remember feeling extremely nervous on one occasion at a royal garden party, and it was right in front of the crowds, in front of the palace. I was being presented just as I'd become Lord Lieutenant. And I thought someone might come and just quieten me down and comfort me. Well, he did, but he started cracking jokes about, don't worry about this, it's going to be a disaster, so don't worry about it. And somehow it made you feel relaxed. That's what great people do. When you met the Duke, you knew you were in the presence of someone who had great presence, a man with a great wit, a man with a great sense of dedication and duty. I think Her Majesty the Queen used to refer to him as her rock, and I think that says everything. He had great stamina, just like Her Majesty the Queen, and he demonstrated through this sense of duty towards the Queen, to the country, just how much energy he had. Whether it was to do with engineering, whether it was to do with young people, you know, my goodness me, the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, what a legacy the man is leaving. Today is a day of great sadness for Her Majesty the Queen and for other members of the royal family. And our hearts and minds and prayers, I'm sure, from all the people in Nottinghamshire, are with Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family at this very difficult time.
Well, let's speak to the Bishop of Leicester, the Right Reverend Martin Snow. And firstly, your reaction to the very sad news today.
I think that mix of feelings that I'm sure much of the country are feeling, both in terms of deep sadness at the loss of someone who was not only such a public figure who's been a part of all our lives for many of us, but also a sense of thanksgiving as well for his life, for all that he contributed to this nation, for all that he contributed to the royal family. So that mix of feelings, I think, sadness and thanksgiving.
Now, alongside the Queen, of course, the Duke visited Leicester, particularly Leicester Cathedral, on a number of occasions.
He did, that's right. So he was here on a couple of occasions in just the last few years, most recently for what's called Maundy Thursday, so a particular time during Holy Week, just before Easter, when the Queen visits a particular cathedral around the country. And the two of them came here and distributed Royal Maundy money to a number of people. In fact, about 180 people, I think, in total received that money in recognition for their community service. And I remember being struck in particular both by his stamina. He was 96 at the time they came here, and as the Queen was distributing the money, he stood as a sign of the significance of the moment for the whole period as she went to all 180 different recipients. So extraordinary stamina at that time, but then also extraordinary conversation. We had a lunch together afterwards, and he showed interest in everyone he was talking to, and was a real good conversationalist.
You did show interest. We've heard how informed he was as well. And of course, he could also be quite outspoken as well.
He had strong views on a number of matters and wasn't afraid of sharing those views. I think most of us actually rather liked that about him, actually. It was part of his charm, and there was a sense of humour that went with it as well. So I think that was part of probably how he coped with being in the public eye so much for so much of his life as well. But as I say, it made him always an interesting person to talk to.
As you say, always in the public eye. What do you think his role was?
Well, primarily very much in terms of supporting Her Majesty the Queen, and for having done that for so many decades, he understood, I think, from the very off that that was to be his role. It was a supportive role. And I think the Queen has borne testimony to the fact that the only way she's been able to do all the extraordinary things that she's done is because of his personal support in the background very much. But he also found particular issues and particular causes that he wanted to champion himself, particularly, of course, the Duke of Edinburgh Award. My own son has recently been doing the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, so been talking with him today about just how important that was for him and for so many young people. So he found his own role, his own way of doing it, but as I say, primarily was clearly about supporting Her Majesty the Queen.
Oh, you mentioned the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, such a legacy. How do you think he will most be remembered?
I think he'll be remembered primarily for his public service. I think from the very early days when he served his nation during the Second World War, then through so many decades of being at the side of Her Majesty the Queen, extraordinary public service, and shown in so many different ways. I think for all of us who had the privilege of meeting him, he had a way of being able to talk with people that showed that we mattered to him, that he was interested, and that he was keen to serve everyone in this nation, no matter who they were.
OK, Bishop of Leicester, Right Reverend Martin Snow, thank you so much for your time. You're watching East Midlands today here on the BBC, a little later than usual for this special programme on the day that the Duke of Edinburgh passed away. As something you may not know, but the Queen and Prince Philip were actually personal friends of the Duke and Duchess of Devonshire, and as such they were frequent visitors to Chatsworth House in Derbyshire. Now the Duke and Duchess have expressed great sadness at Prince Philip's death. Well, he accompanied the Queen on a visit there just 7 years ago, and today visitors to the stately home's garden and grounds also paid their own tributes. Simon Hare reports.
The flag on the lodge at Chatsworth House in Derbyshire is lowered to half-mast in respect for the passing of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Back in July 2014, the crowds had been out here for an official visit by the Queen and her consort. They'd arrived in the area on the scheduled service into Matlock train station, albeit in first class. Today, only the grounds and garden at Chatsworth were open due to COVID restrictions, but news of the Duke's death had reached far and wide.
It's sad that he didn't make it to 100.
Yeah, I think he died 2 months before his 100th birthday, which is really sad.
Yeah.
It's sad for the Queen as well.
One of my first thoughts when I saw the news was the number of people that the Queen has had the opportunity to send telegrams to, and they've reached 100, and it's she hasn't had the opportunity to see him turn 100, has she?
An amazing man, you know, fantastic life, but yeah, really sad news.
I think he's done magnificently.
Yes, I think
he's been a rock for Elizabeth.
a stalwart, and very sad day. She must be very devastated, I think.
How he supported the Queen and the family and thing. I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job, and I think it is very sad.
It's very hard to talk about the royal family now without thinking about the Crown. It's been so popular. And I was, when I watched the episodes of The Crown with him at Gordonstoun, I was very touched by it.
In a short statement, the Duke and Duchess of Devonshire expressed their sadness at the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and they said their thoughts were with the Queen and the rest of the royal family. At a time of so much loss across the country, the death of one man is still keenly felt by the nation. Simon Hare, BBC East Midlands Today, Derbyshire.
Now, quite unsurprisingly, really, tributes have been flooding in all day. Tributes from MPs, from councillors, emergency services and members of the public who fondly recall the Duke's visits to us here in the East Midlands, the many visits as we've seen. Here's Sarah Teal.
Yes, as you can imagine, there are hundreds of tributes being paid to His Royal Highness. Flags are flying at half-mast at buildings across the East Midlands, including in Nottingham, with the City Council tweeting this photo. Online books of condolence are also being opened by all of our councils. A true gentleman, that's how Prince Philip has been described by Suleiman Nagdi from the Federation of Muslim Organisations in Leicester. He added, "We hope that the example that he has set in fulfilling royal duties is followed by the generations to come." And on Facebook, the Leicester Hindu charity Shantidam expressed their sadness at the news, adding warm memories of his visit to our city. Derbyshire artist Paul Cummings tweeted that he was sad to hear the news alongside a photo of the Queen and Prince Philip when they visited his poppy display at the Tower of London. And photographer Nico Morgan from Oakham tweeted this photo of His Royal Highness, adding, "Many thanks for all that you have done for the equestrian and particularly carriage driving world." Many people have paid tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme. Loughborough Schools Foundation tweeted that His Royal Highness would be remembered for his pioneering work, and many teenagers have benefited from his self-development and adventure. And Labour councillor for Bilborough, Rebecca Langton, says she personally benefited from D&V, saying Prince Philip used his position to encourage young people to try something new and give something back. And the Chief Constable of Leicestershire Police, Simon Cole, said the legacy for young people created by the Duke of Edinburgh Awards will live on in his memory. All of our other emergency services have also expressed their condolences. The Derbyshire Armed Response Unit tweeted, "Thank you for your service to our nation, the Commonwealth, and most importantly, to our Queen." And finally, Andrew Phillips from Nottingham shared his memories of the day the Queen and Prince Philip visited Hyson Green in 1990. Andrew was playing the keyboard in the church at the time. Just a few of the tributes to the Duke of Edinburgh.
Thanks to Sarah for that. Now, the world of sport has also been paying its tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Philip was, of course, no stranger to attending sporting events here in the East Midlands, as Charlie Slater reports.
As word broke of His Royal Highness Prince Philip's passing, sport paused to pay its respects. A 2-minute silence, flags flown at half-mast and black armbands on display across the day's cricket.
And now a change of bowling from the pavilion end.
A keen sportsman, the Duke was known for his love of the game, a visitor to Trent Bridge over the years, and on hand to present Nottinghamshire with the County Championship trophy at Buckingham Palace.
You could just move around the room and talk to different groups of people. You know, we had from 18, 19-year-old players up to committee people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, but he was totally at ease, and he could make other people at ease in the conversation.
The Duke's love of sport stretched beyond cricket. A pioneer of carriage driving and an excellent polo player. He was at the opening of Pride Park in 1997 and alongside the then Princess Elizabeth was the royal guest of honour at Wembley Stadium in 1949 as Leicester City met Wolverhampton Wanderers in the FA Cup final.
There's a friendly handshake for the players from Prince Philip and then they're ready to go.
A long life and a great life, and obviously always sad when people have pass on at that stage of life. So yeah, our condolences really from everyone here.
There'll be a minute's silence before the weekend's football games, and black armbands will be worn as tributes continue to pour in from the world of sport as they mourn the loss of one of their greatest supporters.
Charlie Slater reporting there. So many memories from so many people. Well, it's weather time now. Here's Anna.
Thank you, Anne. Well, as weeks of weather goes, it's been fairly quiet. We obviously started it very cold with that Arctic wind. Yesterday and today, briefly, it's been milder, but that Arctic wind arrives again this weekend. There is going to be a little bit more in the way of sunshine than what we've had so far over the last couple of days, but it is going to be chilly, overnight frosts, and there is a chance of an occasional wintry shower. The reason for it is our winds have turned from a southeasterly back to a northeasterly, and what it's going to do is drive in that Arctic blast yet again across the weekend. So a chilly feel to things for Saturday and Sunday before temperatures gradually recover next week. Now, we had a cold front today that gave us cloud and some patchy light rain and drizzle. That's cleared to the south, but there's various weather fronts hovering across the southeastern corner of the UK at the moment. So we are expecting to still see some cloud at times overnight, an occasional shower. Now, these could be wintry over high grounds, and it is going to be a cold night for all of us as temperatures drop below freezing. So a patchy frost is expected to start our Saturday. Still seeing some cloud around at times through Saturday morning. Again, that chance of 1 or 2 wintry showers, but we should also see some sunny spells in between. The temperatures, though, low for the time of the year. There's a high of 8 degrees Celsius and feeling cold in that northeasterly wind. A very similar story on Sunday. We are expecting to wake up with a frost. We may see again some wintry showers. They are well scattered, so plenty of sunshine expected in between these showers. Temperatures up at 7 or 8 degrees Celsius, but feeling colder again in that wind. As we go into next week, our winds again will turn back round, and we are expecting high pressure to slowly start to take over from the south. So we'll gradually see those temperatures rising as we go through Monday and onwards, much milder by the time we get to the end of the week. And on the whole, it does look like largely dry and settled.
Thanks for that, Anna. And that's just about it from us here tonight. On the day the royal family, and indeed the whole country, said goodbye to Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who passed away this morning at Windsor Castle. From all of us here, do have a good evening. And we leave you now with images of the Duke on some of his many visits, as we've seen, to us here in the East Midlands. Good night.